Phil, how's the tickets going for that concert or whatever you call it this summer?
Happy Valley Jam.
Yes.
Yeah, Blake Shelton concert. It's going really well. Talking with the promoter, Basis Entertainment, they're really pleased with where we're at. When you look at where sales were for the Iowa concert, the concert in Iowa, the concert they recently had in Auburn, and Florida State were doing well against what they saw there. I don't know exactly where the ticket number is right now, but they've been very pleased. I would expect that in the next month to month and a half, we'll see some things ramp up in terms of promotional efforts, but I know that they're really pleased with where we're at right now.
I'm assuming there's a benchmark for that being a repeatable event for you guys internally, regardless of how many tickets that you sell. Do you feel like you're getting close to a place where you feel comfortable about, at least hypothetically, addressing the idea of doing it again?
Yeah, I think so. We're already looking at opportunities, whether it's for a concert or Sandy's mentioned international soccer. We've talked about professional hockey in the stadium at some point in the future. We're looking at all kinds of things that we'd like to bring into Beaver Stadium and utilize the asset as more than just a football stadium. You know, one of the biggest things that we're really trying to study and assess with the concert is how we set it up. We haven't done this before, and what does the setup look like? And so getting through this first concert will really allow us to kind of assess what it would look like next summer or in summers to come.
Could you do anything in there, like within the next 5 years, like you said, those other events before anything's done with Beaver Stadium, or is that realistically not until that portion?
I think so. You know, one of the things that we had discussed with hockey as an example was the winterization of the stadium and some of the resources that it would have taken to winterize the stadium and prepare it for a winter event. You know, if that's something we can discuss with the NHL or whomever, and we may be able to get to an agreement where that could happen. Same thing with international soccer. FIFA guidelines are flexible, right? There's not a strict field dimension. There's some flexibility in their field dimension. So it just kind of depends on what the conversations are with the promoters in the leagues.
Okay.
So last year among the fans, there were a lot of complaints about the long lines getting through security. They didn't feel it was handled correctly, especially big games. Anything going to be changing this year?
You know, one of the reasons that we saw that last year was we began wanding at the gates, and we hadn't done that in the past. And that's certainly it's an industry standard, not just at the collegiate level, but at the professional level. And so there's some expectation across the country. I think other fans have had that expectation that arriving early is something that their behavior has changed over time. So we need to continue to communicate with our fans that this is something that isn't going to change. We've entered into an agreement with Wayland Security. Wayland is our new security provider, and they were at the spring game. They provided security for us for the blue-white game. Did a phenomenal job. We're really happy with our partnership with them so far. So communication and working with Wayland, we think, are both things that can help us with that.
Any plans to use metal detectors instead of the wanding?
Right now we're going to stick with wanding.
Why did you change security companies?
You know, from time to time, with any third-party partnership we have, we put it out to market. And so we put out an RFP, and we kind of went to see what the marketplace had to provide, and several different companies bid on the opportunity to work with us in this capacity, and Wayland won the bid at the end of the day. And a lot of different reasons for that. Wayland has been successful in very similar markets to ours. There are some unique challenges to State College. One, you don't have a huge population from which to draw to employ people, and Wayland has done that elsewhere real successfully. And so there are some reasons why we thought Wayland would be a good fit for us.
And on a given Saturday, how many full-time people do they have there, and how many people are they hiring on a part-time basis, roughly speaking?
You know, I don't know the answer to that. That's
okay.
Something that we certainly could get for you, but it's in the hundreds of people that they bring in, whether we're looking at traffic control, parking, ushers, ticket takers, a lot of different people from a security and ushering standpoint that we employ on game day.
What kind of reaction are you getting to the timeline of changes? I mean, because Beaver Stadium had been kicked around for a few years before this came out, but now that people are seeing that might not be 10, 15 years down the road, what kind of reaction is that getting?
Sure, yeah. You know, we've pretty explicitly said it's not likely in the first 5 years of the capital plan, and where it falls after that first 5 years is yet to be determined, and it's largely because it's such a huge, large-scale project. You know, when you're looking at, as James said, 107,000 seat stadium, and what goes into improving the amenities for our fans, whether it's wider concourses or improved restrooms and concession facilities, what we might do with seat backs. It's such a large project, it takes some time to really design and identify funding mechanisms for it. And I actually think the more we've discussed this with fans, the more they understand why it's not necessarily in the first 5 years. Of course, there's always an initial reaction to something like that, but the more you're able to explain the why behind the decision, I think a lot of people understand why we are where we are with that.
You mentioned winterizing, and that's been one of the why hockey hasn't happened in Beaver Stadium reasons for a while. Last game of the season's almost always been end of November. Winter Classic's been, for all intents and purposes, New Year's Day or thereabouts.
Right.
What happens in that month that you have to winterize the stadium? Is that a cost obstacle? Is that just, why can't it make a month before you take the pipes out?
I think there's some risk there. There's risk in, so when we end that last football game in the fall, we put the stadium to rest for winter, so to speak, and so we turn water off so pipes don't freeze. We close concession stands so we don't have to operate and maintain the utilities and concession stands. Most of it's around the utilities piece of it, and how do you operate a venue that's that large when you have the risk of the weather being what the weather could be. Now we've all seen winters past where that would not have been an issue, and we've also seen winters past, even in my 3 years, where it definitely would have been an issue. And so it's really mitigating the risk that could happen between that last game in November and what happens in January.
How many stadiums are in similar situations to that are so old, that the infrastructure's so old? Do you have a feel for that?
I don't know the number. I would imagine there are a few, but not a lot. Many of the facilities, especially in the Big Ten, have upgraded in the last couple of decades. When you look across the Big Ten, there are very few that haven't done some pretty major, substantial renovations to their facility in the last 10 to 20 years. And so as a result of that, they've improved, might be ADA situations, concessions, parking, merchandise areas, and also along with that some of the utilities and infrastructure that would go in to support things.